Fire Service recruits new officers to replace aging workforce. Nurses Awards. And the face behind the music, we meet Esta-Pacifica. Welcome, this is Sunday's News. I'm Charmaine Poreambe. The PNG Fire Service is facing a struggle to replace its aging workforce. Chief Fire Officer Bill Rue says the agency's task is to professionally train new officers and increase manpower. Over 25 new fire officers graduated recently in a ceremony held at the Waigani Fire Service in Port Moresby.
The new fire officers did a short parade prior to the graduation ceremony on Friday. Dignitaries from other state departments, development partners and private sector attended to witness the event. Speaking during the ceremony, the chief fire officer says new officers are needed to change the aging workforce. He says training has commenced.
This program will be ongoing activity until we get all civilian staff or non-uniform staff at the headquarters trained for basic firefighting skills. We will continue the volunteer concept with other stakeholders to see that the volunteer concept is realized going forward to overcome such problems like inadequate manpower at our fire stations.
While training and recruitment is in progress, the fire service is also training community fire volunteers. The CFO says this is critical not just in Port Moresby but around the country. He thanked development partners for the technical support.
I also take this opportunity to acknowledge the support from the Australian people to the Queensland Fire and Emergency Service for their support and training and equipment. The Japanese government and the people for their support with equipment. The Chinese people and the government for fire trucks. The St. John Ambulance for the support that we receive.
Minister responsible Saki Solomon acknowledges the effort by all serving fire officers. He says the Marape-Stephen government wants enablers of public service to strive for the best. Minister Solomon said every state agency must work together to serve the people.
In order to rescue those in peril, though you may not receive a Medal of Honor for your bravery, but I'm pretty sure that your resolve to face danger and save lives and properties will enable you to live humble, satisfied, and honored lives in your communities.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
Almost 2 years after the initial submission to the state through the Department of Personnel Management, the Nurses Award has been signed. President of PNG Nurses Association, Frederick Kebai, says the awards is now from 2021 to 2023. Minor changes include appointment of a chief nursing officer at the Department of Health, 5% increase in accidental and overtime allowance, and uniformity in nursing standards in nursing schools with better qualification, among others. Kebai thanked the Marape-Stephen government and says nurses play a pivotal role in providing health services to the mass population in rural and urban centres.
After going out on the media on the 22nd of July up to the 25th, rigorous, intensive negotiation with the Department of Health, we were able to achieve the award for the nurses. It was actually 2019 to 2021 award, but when it is signed, it becomes 2021-2023 award for the nurses. Yes, this award is minor changes into the award, but it is very, very significant.
Papua New Guinea has recorded another death from coronavirus disease or COVID-19, bringing the total confirmed deaths to 6. A 39-year-old female in the National Capital District died at the Port Moresby General Hospital recently. Meanwhile, 2 additional COVID-19 cases were also confirmed from NCD, bringing the total cases for the country to 510. Control of the National Pandemic Response, David Manning, has called on residents to strictly adhere to COVID-19 protocols as there are evidences of community transmission. Mr. Manning further called for more testing to be done throughout the country. To date, cases have been reported from 13 provinces in the country, with the majority of the cases are mild and moderate. Police reservists, except by those bound by MOUs, have all been stood down in all command nationwide. The decision made purposely to identify and remove instances of police abuses often leveled against some of the reservists. The reasons were further clarified by Commander for NCD Central Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. earlier in the week.
Let's go forward, let's reverse.
A decision to stand down all auxiliary police in NCD and Central was initially undertaken formally by the NCD Central Command prior to the recent nationwide directive, a decision that comes with great disappointment for genuine and reliable reservist members of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. However, the reasons taken by the management to lay off reservists are sincere and actions will have to be taken to carry out this particular directive.
Our reservists in this command have been stood down. Since a directive from the Commissioner of Police came out, we have, from our office, have directed the METSUB and the PPC to ensure that their commands, all reservists are stood down from duties.
Commander Wagambi acknowledging that while the Reserve Constabulary was formed for good reason, there are also those who lack training whilst entering the Reserve Constabulary for their own purposes, adding that there are also impersonators.
On that note, I would also like to publicly thank all those hardworking and dedicated reservists. We have got a lot of them, a lot of very, very loyal and honest reservists who have worked with us over the years, have contributed immensely to fighting crime, not just in NCD but in the country as well. I'd like to thank them for their contribution. They've done a lot, and I'd like to put on record that some of those reservists, their performance outweighs some of our regular members as well. They've been very dedicated. But the decision by the Commissioner has to be carried out. It's for a reason, it's for a genuine reason. It's for us to take stock, because there are a lot of people who came into the Reserve Constabulary who didn't go through the proper training and abused the uniform. One, they didn't undergo proper training. Two, abuse the uniform for their personal gain, either to do business or to carry out illegal activities, extort money, unprofessional conduct, and so forth.
Additionally, highlighting the need for reservists, but depending on the police commissioner, their roles will have to be revisited and properly arranged to have them back on the force.
That's why this decision has to be made, so that we stock take, and then when the commissioner feels fit, the Community Policing Directorate will lead the way in setting out guidelines and criteria for the recruitment of reservists back, but this one to be done strictly and under strict guidelines. Proper screening will be done this time.
The Commissioner's intent for the Constabulary is to take stock of what the force has and, based on stringent screening and operating procedures, reintroduce the Reserve Constabulary. Annette Kora, National EMTV News.
And tonight on My Province, My Country, we visit the Highlands region. Here is a preview of one dedicated business owner doing it tough on the foothills of Mount Wilhelm.
At that very time, I was not aware of the problems that would come with the trout farm and the vegetable production. We had a land, and the land was very fertile, and we had good quality water. We looked at this and we thought, we take a risk and invest in a trout farm. And our main objective was to go into breeding, because when we came here there was trout breeding in the wild. Long time ago, colonials, Australians, they stocked the rivers, and here at this part they were breeding. So we thought that we'll venture into that. So this is how it started.
Very few people in Papua New Guinea have mastered trout farming like Betty. And her successes today didn't come easily. Her initial trials failed, she lost money and a lot of fish. But each time she learnt the lessons and tried again.
Betty Higgins' story and more can be seen on My Province, My Country following the news tonight. Still to come on National EMTV News, the Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare pays tribute to Morobe leaders, and we meet PNG's latest music sensation. Details after the break. Welcome back to the news. It's that time of the year when the black, red and yellow colors dominate the streets and shops as we approach the country's Independence Day. While many celebrations are hosted prior to the big day, not everyone gets to share pre-independence celebrations with one of the country's founding fathers and first-time Prime Minister Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. On Friday, students and locals at Wampar in Morobe's Huon Gulf had the opportunity to celebrate an event with Sir Michael Somare, who expressed that Morobeans play a vital role in the road towards independence.
It's not every day that students get to hear from the country's first Prime Minister, Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. This was the case for these students attending various schools in the Wampar LLG in Morobe's Huon Gulf.
And please make welcome the founding Prime Minister of the independent state of Papua New Guinea, Grand Chief Right Honorable Sir Michael Somare.
What's more is that this took place a few days before the country celebrates 45 years of independence.
Time missing out long Papua New Guinea kisim independence. Planiman meri olitok baik sim independent baik gimana? Long teriman bipin gad long country bipin tinggal sem olgana man meri long Papua New Guinea babai oli kamap mana merina oli kat save na oli la walking ranim country player. Nadela ting ikamap 45 years ago.
Sir Michael, who was in Morobe to witness the launch of various education projects in the Huon Gulf district, expressed his joy at being in the province that holds a special place in PNG's independence. It was the birthplace of Pangu Party, the party that led PNG to independence, and it was also where Sir Michael went to school. As Sir Michael Somare reflected on the 45 years thus far, he said the push for independence was well backed by Morobeans.
When Papua New Guinea was calling for independence, a lot of Papua New Guinea didn't agree, but Morobeans did agree with me, and they gave me, on the first election, they gave me 10 people to go to Parliament to form Pangu Party to make it a reality, and we made it reality. Today we still make it a reality. After 45 years, we can stand up and say we are very proud people in Morobe.
For most of the students, if not all, it was their first time to see the Grand Chief in person, and it will be a day that they will remember for many years to come.
And his speech was actually motivating, and yeah, it's really an honor to see the founding Prime Minister, the founding father, the president.
I was able to see Grand Chief. This is my first time to see.
Today, you sanap long 45th anniversary long independence bla yumi. Namito big pla mama si kopuran long yang plaman yang plapigin ini. Olgara man meri long Papua New Guinea. Thank you and God bless you me Olgara.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
Coffee farmers of Hua Cooperative in Lufa district of Eastern Highlands have reaped their first group sale. The farmers completed processing 537 parchment coffee bags and received over 220,000 kina from this sale for its members. Coffee industry corporations and other partners witnessed a payout to Hua members at Lapiva village recently. Out of 582 members, only 149 farmers participated in this first group sale. With the establishment and equipping of the CIC Quality laboratory in Goroka funded by CIC PPAP, smallholder farmers will now have the bargaining power to negotiate better prices for their hard work. According to CIC, farmers who are organized in cooperative groups and are producing quality coffee would be able to access this service provided by CIC. You may have heard her latest song, seen the music video, and might have shed a tear or two. Esta-Pacifica is the name and Gomohana is the song. Artist Esta-Pacifica, who goes by the stage name Esta-Pacifica, is blessed with a natural gift in singing. This young lass from a mixed parentage of Asaro in Eastern Highlands and Erava in Southern Highlands is a true testament of what it means to be beautiful, educated and talented.
This is not the first time Esta has written and releases a single. Her first song, Mangi West Papua, currently sits on the top daily hits on local radio stations.
About us leaving West Papua, because as I said, my father was a missionary then. We lived there for about around 11 years, and when we had to leave the country or the province, it happened abruptly. Like it kind of hurting me in a way, and I thought, how am I supposed to find a disclosure for the way I'm feeling right now and my family, because it wasn't just me, all of us. That's why I included my whole family in the video to show that we all had the feelings.
Just months after releasing Mangi West Papua, she dropped another single, this time capturing hearts and blue minds with the touching lyrics and unique voice.
It's a tribute song for my uncle, my mom's youngest brother. He passed away. He was dear to me, but he passed away 2 days after I arrived from USA. Went to school there, and I heard that he was in his last stage of cancer, and when I came back, he kind of waited for me, I would say. I mean, that's what it seemed.
Despite knowing very little on how the music industry works, the musical keys and the different vocal arrangements, this hasn't stopped this Asaro girl to write songs and inspire people.
Love doesn't always require a male and a female, you know. It's a relationship around people and the community. So basically I'm heading towards that direction, and I hope I reach people with my lyrics.
When asked if she has more catchy and heartfelt tunes for us, she says,
trying to maintain the momentum, but at the same time I have work to do and I have other responsibilities, so I'm not going to write songs after songs, but there will be a single in maybe soon.
Yana Zoriri, National EMTV News.
Since 1988, 3 separate education systems have been introduced in the country, each one designed to be an improvement on the one before. Yet for all that, COVID-19 has had an effect on learning in schools on such a scale that its repercussions may be felt in the years to come. Jeremy Mogi takes a closer look at the impact of COVID-19 on education in NCD.
Well, the first announcement of a positive case of COVID-19 initially made the news, there was an air of trepidation, a heightened concern that was initially focused on travel, health, and then a host of other sectors that included business, agriculture, and trade. A lockdown ensued when COVID-19's first patient reached our shores, and then another. At first, fear, worry, anxiety, leading on to concern, perplexion, and eventually mounting frustration, followed by what is now very common, feigned ignorance. An obvious aside to the Kubler-Ross theory that describes the internal emotional journey that individuals experience when dealing with change or transition. A lot of these feelings, however, were focused on the aforementioned sectors. With health being the exception, all others were economic avenues that provided for a large portion of the population an income. The government's massive stimulus package aimed at reviving a suddenly stagnant economy that would drop from an estimated 6% GDP to half of that, however targeted at providing at first the basic salaries of government workers before being utilized within various provincial and district governments for agricultural and SME growth. None, however, was provided for the education sector. The so-called future of PNG left largely to fend for themselves. Innovation occurs in times of stress, and the sector responsible for educating Papua New Guinea has been as stressed as the others. That education has struggled is an understatement, and each successive government has done little to place full emphasis on its continued evolutionary improvement. When COVID-19 hit PNG, it exposed even more the severe limitations in the system. The most affected of schools in Papua New Guinea were located in the capital, Port Moresby. 2 lockdowns and a combined 3.5 weeks behind have seen NCD schools fight to stay in the learning race. Some have fared better than others. In August, we visited 2 schools on the outskirts of the National Capital District.
The students a few students have expressed it, but you can see from the reaction of many students that they are just keeping quiet about it, but that they are afraid to, what's going to happen to them. Because these students travel back and forward, and they use public transport as well, and they are afraid they could catch it at any time because of the increased number of cases now.
Maranville Principal Monica Anga says the lockdown wasn't something they'd planned for, but it allowed them to test out certain elements of learning that have yet to be fully explored.
But this COVID-19 has made us try to look at a better way, maybe in terms of technology, that we have to, every school must be prepared to have that.
A stone's throw away, De La Salle Secondary School. Their principal, Brother Anthony Swami, facing different challenges.
When we are come to the closer of the term 2, that's a lockdown came, so that students were prepared for their assessment, second assessment, which was delayed, and the preparation for the end of term exam was delayed. So it's affected a lot of our boys. Mentally they were affected because they were asked to stay at home for 6 weeks, when then it was really hard for us to bring them back to the normal mindset. That was a big challenge.
Brother Anthony also making a distinct comparison between the boys' school he manages to Monica Keanga's Maranville.
Facility. I don't think any one of the system schools in PNG, especially in NCD, has that online facility. I don't know how many schools have the internet facility for everyone, especially for administration, staff, and the students. A lot of few schools, international schools, those who have well up with the money, the financially sound enough, they are able to have online classes, or they have the facility to buy. But like system schools in PNG, especially NCD, I don't think any one of the schools have that facility, or they are capable to buy. I don't think the government has supported it. Yeah.
To put that into perspective, we visited St. Joseph's, another Catholic school, and one that has embraced technology. The school was forced into closure after a teacher tested positive for COVID-19 during mandatory testing. Technological limitations are obvious. It is an expensive exercise implementing the concept of remote learning. Director Father Ben Fleming saying that using an online platform has been highly beneficial for their students.
It has proved during these lockdown periods extremely beneficial. And we have a good IT system. Our students have, and our staff, all our staff have laptops and have internet access. The majority of the students also do, and have, when they're at school, certainly have internet access. We've gone through, especially over the last 3 weeks, even before this lockdown, the senior staff and I talked about Plan A, Plan B and Plan C of how to deal with this, and luckily we did. We didn't expect this, but we planned as best we could. So yes, we've been able to post online some learning modules. We talked about streaming a lesson. That's a little more difficult. Takes up we looked at how many megabytes that takes up for each stream. And of course, not all our students have access at home. They don't have, all of them don't have internet access at home, of course, because it's expensive, and not all parents are, have some sort of plan or whatever. So, but we're doing the best we can. Certainly the investment in IT has proved to be it's a godsend, basically.
Investment over the years into the potential of using an online apparatus has served them well. St. Joseph's, like a handful of international educational institutions in PNG, is well set up to continue to provide for a largely absent student population.
Socially, the school's probably going to be a little bit different. As we get health advice, maybe we've got to look at our classes, our class sizes, and how we organise that, how the children socialise, and you can't stop them. I just noticed that, the last couple of weeks before this lockdown, they were just so happy, and they love being together, and they miss that. And it's hard to say, that group sitting there just chatting away and having fun. Sorry, stop it. Distance. It's just too hard.
What is familiar with all three schools, that despite being mission or church-run institutions, private or otherwise, they're still bound by the directives of the Education Department.
So that is actually, if we look at effectively the learning has been taken place in the classroom. We have tried to make arrangements through online and radio and TV programs, but that is not the same as a face-to-face learning experience. So obviously the children's education has been affected.
Dr. Uga Kombra is the current Secretary for Education. This week he was among a small number of guests for Borneo Pharmaceuticals' donation of disposable face masks for schools in NCD. When asked on the potential for other modes of learning, he had this to say.
The reality we know is that not every student has got a computer or has got access to internet. So we have done what we can, but it's a challenge for us to roll it out right across the country. And education alone, we cannot be able to do that. We're just providing the opportunity, but it has to be everyone contributing to make it happen.
The first of the schools to be affected by a lockdown, though, was one that used to be called Murray International. Now called Ted Diro, it suffered directly after the PNG Defence Force headquarters, Murray Barracks, was shut down. Head teacher Hannah Charlie saying it was a difficult period for them.
The kids were so much affected, even the teachers were so much affected, and there were withdrawals from all the students from all grades, from grade 3 up to grade 8. The parents came to withdraw some of their students that made a drop in the figure, actual figure of the school.
And while there is joy on the faces of these children, the hard realities of having an education under these trying times cannot be overlooked. When pharmaceutical company Borneo Pacific donated face masks to almost 50 schools in NCD, an official from the Education Department gave some startling figures globally of the impact that COVID-19 had had on children attending school.
The COVID-19 has disrupted learning of 1.5 billion children, representing over 89% of the world's student population, including all 2.4 million students in Papua New Guinea. The gain of expanding access to education, improving quality of education, are being compromised because of this pandemic.
COVID-19's impact on education will not be felt immediately, and the proper development of PNG's young generation is extremely crucial in ensuring the 45-year-old nation matures to be able to provide a capable, quality populace with the capacity to think for itself for a cliched, brighter future.
Children bounce back. Once they're back with their friends, and if we can get back to relatively normal between now and the end of the year, I think they'll be happy. Happy children are better learners. They apply themselves much better to everything when they're in an environment they like, enjoy and feel safe, and that's what we aim to provide.
Trukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. Hekari United were desperate for a win to get into second spot of the Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League, and that win came yesterday. With VTS United losing to FC Bougainville, Hekari's 2-1 victory over FC Morobe Wawen sees them take a crucial spot on the ladder. Hekari United had to win this match to make it into second spot. Just before this game, second-placed VTS United had fallen victim to FC Bougainville 1-0. Hekari had their work cut out for them as they held back an advancing FC Morobe Wawens. Hekari having the chance to set up for goal-scoring opportunities. But Morobe Wawens had an early shot at goal.
Watching.
Hekari were frequenting the Wawens goal area and looked to score.
Dabinyaba.
The opportunity came when Wawens captain Fedalas Nawesh challenged Kolukepo.
Kolukepo went direct.
The challenge leaving the Wawens captain limping off the field of play.
Limping off, this will not be a good sign for FC Morobe Wawens.
Foster with a grand opportunity to take the shot at goal, but opted instead to allow Roger Sacking to help it through.
Ati Kepo. And out of the blue, Roger Sacking has scored.
The goal saw Hekari take a 1-0 lead into half-time. Hekari started the second half determined to score as they pushed up into the Wawens goal area. Their determination paid off, with defender Junior David taking a long-range goal.
Junior David latched it! Junior David! Well, that's what we've been waiting for.
Hekari let go a bit in defense. This allowed for an opening for the FC Morobe Wawens. Goro Paul Albert getting Wawens started on their goal.
Better from FC Morobe Wawens. Might have a chance to shoot. They do so. Tomara slips. And there it is. FC Morobe Wawens have pulled one back.
But Wawens failed to follow up and put more goals on the board, leaving Hekari United with the win. The win now sees Hekari United in second place on the Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League ladder. And Trukai Sports ends on that note. Charmaine will have the weather forecast for the next 24 hours when we come back. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
The weather focus for this morning and today. In the southern region, Port Moresby fine and windy, Daru mostly fine, Kerema mostly fine with cloudy periods, then afternoon rain or drizzle. Alotau mostly fine, though cloudy at times, and Popondetta mostly fine after morning rain or drizzle. In the Mamasa region, late morning rain or drizzle easing for cloudy day. Medang morning rain showers clearing for mostly fine day. Wewak mostly fine with cloudy periods, and Vanimo mostly fine, then afternoon showers. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul fine and sunny. Kimbe fine, sunny, then possible afternoon showers, and Buka mostly fine. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, morning fog clearing, then mostly fine with cloudy periods, then afternoon showers. Gorka and Kundiawa, morning fog patches clearing, then cloudy with afternoon showers. Mendi and Wabeg, morning rain or drizzle easing for cloudy day with afternoon rain showers.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for Sunday, 13th of September 2020. Don't forget our independent special, My Province, My Country, begins after the news. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing. Be safe. Bye for now.